Welcome to the Wild Reawakening podcast. Hosts Amy and Kendall Evans take you on a journey to learn empowerment by accessing your intuition and reawakening your wild self. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute any medical or legal advice. Make sure to like and follow the Wild Reawakening podcast and stay connected with us at Wild Reawakening on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Visit wildreawakening.com. Join us in building a community of healing and connection. Get started today on your own path to a wild reawakening. Hey everyone, welcome to the moon forecast for the new moon coming up in Pisces. We have happening on February 20th, and well, it's the 20th and the 19th. If you're in the Pacific Standard Time, it's happening Sunday the 19th at 11:06 p.m. If you're Eastern Time, it's happening on the 20th, and that's at 2:06 a.m. Eastern. I'm Kendall with Wild Reawakening and the Bohemian Tarot Girl. This is my co-host, Amy. Give a shout out for yourself.
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm with Wild Reawakening, Wise Moon Energy, an intuitive energy coach and moon circle leader. So pretty excited to get into the details about this moon.
Yeah, I mean, I felt so flustered these last couple of days with that energy that we had with the last quarter moon, and it was in Scorpio. And I don't know, my vibes have been off. And, we chatted about this yesterday, just that kind of uneasy energy. And now we're approaching this new moon in Pisces. So how are you feeling about that?
There has been a lot of unsettling energy, kind of a little bit of agitation. We've also been having solar flares, so that can affect you energetically. Even if you don't realize that that's what's happening, it's kind of like this heightened awareness that is going on, your senses a little on overload. So that could be part of it too, but we all know this moon energy and the energy of the other planets, they all kind of factor into the collective and your personal kind of welfare. So this moon is happening at 1 degree of Pisces. So if you want to figure out more about where that is affecting you personally, you can look at your chart and see where 1 degree Pisces falls, which house that is in. Each house represents a different piece of the puzzle. So that can give you a little bit more insight. But 1 degree Pisces, that is the very start of Pisces season. So that 1 degrees is really significant for a new beginning.
Yes.
But this moon has a lot of closing energy to it because we have major planets that are involved that are getting ready to switch signs, and those don't switch signs very often. So it's also a time for really closing out cycles. So we're going to talk more about that, kind of get into the details of what is really going on. But
yeah, let's talk about the closing energy, because Pisces is the end of that zodiac cycle. And so with that even now happening, and we have it happening right at the beginning of the Pisces season. So we have the 18th, February 18th is when Pisces season kind of kicks off and comes in, and then right away you're having this new moon. So although there's, the setting new intentions with the moon, there's also this closing energy. And it's really calling us to close out some of the pieces that we've been working on. So if you think about the themes that have been happening throughout this last year that we've experienced, what sort of things are lingering with you and what really needs to be ended before you can start this new process that we're coming into.
Yeah, it feels like there's been this big buildup happening. I don't know if that's how it's felt for you, but it feels like we're kind of building up to something big. And I think that's part of the agitation or uncomfortableness a lot of people have been feeling, because it's like, that something is about to give. At least that's how it feels for me. But we have those things. And what happens is when you don't know what's coming, you tend to anticipate and feel a little uncertain and scared about it. But I think that if you find a way to gain some trust in the universal process. And you can kind of look back and see this evolution that's been happening in the last couple of years, that overall, even though there's a lot of things that seem really out of place right now, they're all kind of leading to a better situation. But before you can actually get there, a lot of times you have to kind of remove the things that are in the way of where you're going. So this Pisces energy is very watery. It's a water sign, so it's very intuitive. It has a lot of emotion behind it. It's kind of mysterious. It is the energy of things that have been hidden or aren't necessarily seen in the physical. So that has a little bit of disillusionment to it already as well, because it's asking you to look deeper and to bring things up to the surface as well. So we are looking at this energy. It's like a good time. You know, new moons, we always say we're here to set intentions, and we are looking to the future and looking at what we want to bring into our lives, because the moon and the sun are in the same place in the sky during a new moon. And so we use that energy to kind of look forward as things build and what we want to build. So I would encourage you to still do that right now, but also realize that in order to get to that point, that's going to be the energy for the rest of this year, is that there's going to be a big emphasis on closing out cycles and eliminating things that are no longer in alignment for you.
Yeah, with that is to me a lot about Pisces. Is it has that duality, it has that yin and yang, and so it has that light and dark, and that's really what this moon is about. Although you need to approach the future and plant those seeds, there's still that other side that you have to deal with. And so this moon is really encompassing those two aspects. So it's asking you to do two things, which can be a little bit overwhelming. And it's important not to get stuck or blocked while you're trying to navigate this process, right? So make sure that you're breaking it down and looking at what you want to remove out of your life and then what you actually want to bring into your life. And, do those two pieces, and make sure that you're walking through each steps and you're not jumping over things. Really go through the stuff that you need to clear first and then move into what you want to bring in.
Yeah, and one of the major players right now, we've talked about this for several videos, is the Saturn energy that has really been a catalyst for so many of the things that have been happening it's been in that sign for 2.5, 3 years about. And we all saw how myself. Saturn is a practical sign or planet, and it wants to kind of show you where things aren't working, and it's also really good at bringing things into the physicality. So a lot of people don't really like Saturn energy. It kind of gets a bad rap for being the taskmaster, but it's getting ready to shift now into a different sign. So a lot of that tense energy between the planets is going to dissipate, and it might start to feel like things are a little bit easier. The Saturn is switching from Capricorn into, no, am I getting that wrong? Yeah, no, Saturn is switching from Aquarius into Pisces. So we have this conjunction. It's in its very last I cannot talk today. It's in its very last degrees of Aquarius before it shifts, but it's in really close conjunction right now with this moon and the sun. It actually changes signs like the first or second week of March. So what it's doing is that anything that you are looking at bringing into your life, this Saturn energy being in Pisces is going to give it your dreams some kind of concreteness and make them able to come into more physical existence, instead of just being these like ethereal,
Mhm.
intuitive nudges. It's actually going to give it some building blocks, which is really cool because I think that we've really needed.
100%. It's hard to keep doing what you know intuitively that you need to do when you're not seeing any kind of results, right? And so having that piece come in, and I think it's the 7th of March is when that happens. So you'll start seeing that transition around that time, which is nice.
Yeah, it'll be super helpful. And then
Mhm.
we also have Pluto, which is a super slow moving planet. That's like a generational planet. I think it's like a 20-year cycle. It takes forever for it to move signs. And it's also in the last degrees of Capricorn right now, and it's getting ready to shift into Aquarius, which is going to bring Pluto is kind of I mean, it's evolutionary. It, is, help me out here, Kendall.
No, well, Pluto is this is the one I feel like everyone is talking about is this Pluto transition. And it is epic because of the length of time that it takes to transition, for one, but it also has this mysterious quality about it and this catalyst for making these transitions for this long period of time that we're coming in. And so the fact that it's leaving Capricorn and that energy, I think that is what's freaking out people the most. And that's kind of my read on it. I mean, Capricorn is very much the energy that we currently live in, right? And we live in this very Capricorn world. And now we're being asked to come out of that and how that comes into play. I mean, like, how do you feel as far as like, are you concerned about the transition or is it something that,
I I think it's kind of one of those that it's always scary to leave behind what you know. And this is being generational and having a 20-year cycle. Like we've all gotten used to what this energy feels like and how to navigate it as best as we can. And so when it's especially switching from such an earthy, solid sign like Capricorn, and it's getting ready to enter Aquarius, which is so
well, I think that,
unpredictable in a way.
yeah,
I
I
mean, it's a
agree.
good collective energy and it's good for um, thinking up new things and being innovative, but we don't know what that's going to look like yet. And it could really go in any direction. And I think that's kind of where some of the anxiety is
Yeah.
with this transition.
Well, for me, the way I kind of like when I'm thinking about it and comparing it, I kind of think about the energy of, social media and the rise of, like the Kardashians, like all those people that we really focused on that were in, placed in the entertainment industry and that we wanted to live up to have this very like materialistic life. And now we're seeing a shift away from it. And it's been sort of slow. And now I feel like it's picked up momentum, right? And so we have this move and transition, and we also have a transition in the way that we're like receiving media going through right now. And so I think that's where it's most in focus for me is seeing that piece. And that's how I relate it back is how it's really affecting us. And, materialistically, that can be hard because people are dependent upon, revenue, that sort of thing that comes in from certain fields. And so the shifting of it, I think, is what worries a lot of people. So that'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see how it plays out.
And right now, Pluto is also having this sextile with Venus. And because Venus is in Pisces, and so a sextile energy is usually a pretty complementary energy, and it is for this, but you could see that there is a lot of emphasis potentially on different relationships. If you've been doing, and as the cycle closes out, if you've been doing the work on yourself, on your relationships, on focusing on self-love, which has been a big theme of Pisces and where Pisces Venus is right now, you may notice that there are some cycles closing out within your relationships. There could be some relationships that you decide no longer work for you. or that you've outgrown and it's time to let go. You could see that maybe there's patterns of behavior with different friendships or relationships or even business partnerships that are no longer needed, or that you're recognizing these patterns and you're seeing them with fresher eyes and realizing that that's not something that you want to continue. And it's this energy that with this is going to make it really good for either transforming those things into something more positive or eliminating them completely.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. And also, with this moon too, if you've been procrastinating anything that has to do with your relationships, this is your moment. Don't sit there and let all those things hang out, because that's going to cause yourself to have a tower moment. And that's really what I've been seeing when I've been reading the cards for the energy, is that tower moment. And so when we think about a tower moment, either we embrace it and we go ahead and go through the transition aware of it, and we can, open up conversations with loved ones that we want to have. Either that or we ignore it. And then if we ignore it, then shit is going to hit the fan. And that is where we have those big, huge moments where things just crumble and we go, oh my gosh, and we
what just
freak out
there.
Yeah. So this moon, don't avoid things. That is my biggest advice for this one, is don't avoid it. Just go ahead and approach it in a manner where you're considering both sides. Remember the light and dark for all your actions, and make sure that you're tackling these situations instead of just waiting for the tower to go down and explode, because that's what's
and with Pisces, one of the things that I always think about with this energy, and I love Pisces energy, but Pisces is really good at having rose-colored glasses on. They can see the good in everything. They can be avoidant of the tough things. They can believe that things are different than what they really are. And so having this Pluto and Capricorn and sextiling this, and Venus in particular, it's really giving a dose of reality to the things that maybe you have not really wanted to pay attention to. And once you see things, you can't unsee them. And I think that's why so many people be having these big shifts. And that's not a bad thing. Sometimes you really need that dose of reality so that you can move on to the next thing. Otherwise, you just keep repeating cycles over and over and over again.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And we don't want to repeat the cycle. This is your chance before we kind of push forward here. Let's close it out.
So much new getting ready to come in, and we start kind of the zodiac new year happens when we move into Aries season. That's the start of it. So there's all these new cycles and this new energy. And if there's anything that you really need to let go of now, I would say this is the season to do it.
Yes, I completely agree. Is there anything else before we wrap up that you want to highlight? Or do you think we covered it all?
I guess just the only thing, and because there is such a duality to this, just remember there's a lot of places in your life and a lot of things where if you've been doing the work, this is where you are leveling up to the next thing. And so really embrace that for yourself and recognize how far you've come in the last couple of years, especially where, the Saturn cycle, now that that's closing up, it's like we're jumping ahead to something that is so much better. And hopefully you've done the work on yourself and you've recognized more of your strengths and more of what you're capable of, and you're ready.
Yes, I love that. All right, everyone. I hope you have a good new moon. Remember, don't avoid situations. Go into them with, the viewpoint of light and dark, and get those thoughts for this new cycle coming up ready to manifest. All right, everyone, have a great new moon, and we'll see you next time. Make sure to like and subscribe. We appreciate it.